right.
We have many people here. We can do.
Good evening, everyone. This is the August 17th, 2026 meeting of the Woodbridge Board of Education. I will call the meeting to order at 7:04 p.m. We will do the roll call of Board of Education members. Vice Chair Lynn Piazzik.
Present.
Secretary Sarah Beth Del Preet.
Present.
Jackie Capiello.
Present.
Megan Knatzer is not with us this evening. Jeff Hughes.
Present.
Michael Strambler.
Here.
Sarab Vilkar.
Here.
Aaron Williamson.
Here.
And I am the chair, Stephen Lawrence. Staff in attendance this evening include Christopher Montini, Superintendent, Donna Coonan, Director of Business and Operations, Carrie Borcherding, Director of Special Services, Cheryl Toffel, Assistant Principal, Matthew Madruga, Assistant Principal, and Marcia DeGennaro, Clerk of the Board. We will now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Correspondence. Sarah Beth?
There is no correspondence. As a reminder, correspondence needs to be submitted via email no later than 4 p.m. on the day of the meetings to Marcia DeGennaro.
Okay, thank you. All right, public comment. The board welcomes public participation and is appreciative of the feedback we receive from the community, whether it is through letters or public comment at meetings. If you're making public comment at tonight's meeting, please be aware that the board will not respond to any comments made during the public comment period, except to clarify issues. We will take into consideration your comments, and when appropriate, district administration will follow up with you at a later point in time. Is there any public comment this evening? Seeing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. This evening's consent agenda includes the minutes from the June 15th regular board meeting, the July 20th special meeting, I keep getting louder, and the July 20th regular retreat meeting, so I'll have to talk quieter. Along with a budget narrative, exactly, a budget summary, the budget detail report with 2025-2026 transfers, and the combining financial statements. Does anyone on the board wish to extract anything from tonight's consent agenda for discussion? Seeing none, may I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
May I have a second, please? Sarah Beth? All those in favor? All right, it's unanimous. All right. That brings us to reports, beginning with Superintendent Montini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, here we are, 2 weeks away from the start of school. Beecher was a busy place this summer, as it is every summer. We had hundreds of students between REC and SEP engaging in some really, really great activities. We'll hear from both ESY and SEP momentarily, who will tell you a little bit more about both of those successful programs. Part of the review, or the report rather, will be a hiring update. Mrs. Toffel, who will present the BRS report this evening, will provide an update around or related to our certified staff. But briefly, we've hired, in terms of non-certified, we've hired 2 paraeducators. We have 2 vacancies remaining. We've hired 1 permanent building sub. That's a sub that we have. You get a little bit of a better rate. They come every single day, regardless of being absent, often referred to as building subs. We've hired 1, and we had 2. 1 got a job as a teacher somewhere, so we have 2 vacancies remaining in our permanent building subs. Enrollment is also on the agenda in a little bit. We currently have an enrollment of 834. Last August it was 839, so that's a difference of about 5. When we get to my report and the presentation, you'll see that the numbers will be a little different, and I'll explain. And then we ended last June with an enrollment of 875, which is pretty customary given our net migration. Some of the things that we learned through the various reports and analysis, enrollment reporting that we participated in the last few years. So later this evening, we'll review and discuss enrollment and class size. So summer, both our facilities and IT departments were very busy, as is typical in the summer. I'd like to thank Mr. Vito Asparo and his team for doing a great job getting BRS ready and continuing in the next 2 weeks, which is a little bit of crunch time. But we are right on course. Next week, at the end of this week, our playgrounds will be mulched, flower beds weeded. We didn't have any major facility projects this summer, but we did have a couple of issues, again, later in the agenda. I keep setting up the agenda. We'll talk about replacing the computer board for our chillers. That is something that will come up, that we're dealing with currently. We also had, after a storm, the server that runs our phones essentially was fried, and we need to replace the server that supports our voice over IP. We currently have, and voice over IP, of course, is using the internet to make calls, different than the copper lines that used to run to our homes. We do have some copper lines still. That's our backup. So we are not without phones. We're down to a few copper lines as our backup, and the server is being installed tomorrow. We had to wait for that to come in. IT was very busy. Big thanks to Mr. Billings and his part-time summer help. They were able to complete a number of building projects, or IT projects rather, including new copiers throughout the building. So if you recall, at the end of last year, Donna brought us the opportunity to buy out a lease and engage in a new one. That saved us about $20,000. So we saved $20,000 and we got some upgrades. We have an additional copier in the copy center. We also have the ability now to print that we did not have otherwise in color and copy in color in the North Office and the Tech Center, so that the copy center isn't bottlenecked, if you will. So those are some nice upgrades, and of course we appreciate the budgetary savings. We've also are in the process of upgrading our visitor management system. So first, the visitor management system, which is Raptor. When you go check in, you get your badge. We're having a self-service sort of kiosk, an iPad on a stand, which is customary in a lot of other places where you can actually start the check-in process before you get to the window. Especially if you're already in there and you've already scanned your license previously, it should expedite things and make it even a little more efficient. That's different than the background checks that we are upgrading as well, that we discussed in July. We're a couple weeks away from making that final, but we're in process with that upgrade. And then both Mrs. Sherman, Principal Sherman, and I will communicate the process and procedures once that's up and running. But in short, it's going to be a relatively easy process where they complete a form associated with the form that you need to use for DCF. Once they do that, they get a link to do the Raptor thing, from their home, and it's all taken care of outside of school, other than the DCF check, which is what we will have to do. So it won't be a super cumbersome process, but it will be. We will need to educate folks, and I'm thinking about school folks right now in terms of what is a Group 2 volunteer versus a Group 1 volunteer. And essentially, just as a reminder, it's those that are going to be perhaps not within the supervision of a teacher at all times when they're working and volunteering in some capacity. So generally speaking, I know how I frame it, like with field trips, if you're taking the group off on your own, well, that's the next level, Group 2 volunteer. iPads, so here's another issue again that I'm happy that Mr. Billings was able to rectify relatively quickly. So, as you know, as part of our life cycle replacement plan, we budgeted the replacement of 140 iPads. Well, the iPads were delivered to the back of the South Gym and left there overnight without any notice to us. Yes. So when we found, of course, we've been getting some rain lately. So when we found the soggy iPads the next day, I guess we were in a bit of alarm. And so Mr. Billings talked to Apple. It was definitely a shipping issue. Apple has already shipped we've returned those 140, and they're shipping a new set of iPads. Yeah. Actually, to make matters worse, they were delivered to the wrong place even before us, and maybe that's the issue. Is they called a go-between. They were first I got word they were delivered to Naugatuck, and I said that's kind of funny, but it was actually. And then I was like, they're not buying 140 iPads.
Sending a present.
Yeah, no. It was Naugatuck Valley Community Technical College. So perhaps that contributed, but in any case, it was a shipping issue, and Apple was pretty swift. Mr. Billings did a great job documenting, contacting, working with business offices, et cetera, and we expect those the last week of August, the first week of September. So implementation may not quite be ready when they get everything up and running, but all things considered, we were pretty fortunate. So IT, we also completed, you folks started before I joined the team, the replacement of the new line boards in all of the classrooms. We had 7 left that we purchased in last year's, this budget, current budget, we completed installation. So now all of the educational spaces have the new display boards, which is great. We were starting the conversation this evening with, we can't believe that we're in the waning days of summer, and that's right, 2 weeks from today, August 31st, we will welcome our students back, which will be wonderful. Kids are certainly the best part. We love our staff too. A reminder that the first 2 days, the 31st and the 1st of September, will be early release days, and staff report back to work next week. Next Monday on the 24th, our kindergarten students will come to school for a bus safety presentation and their first official ride on a school bus, which will be fun. And later that day, we have a new orientation, or an orientation rather, for students that are new to the community, new to Beecher. Convocation will take place next Tuesday. Light breakfast will be served beginning at 7:45 in the cafeteria. It will begin at 8:15. All board members are welcome. Chairman Lawrence will share some welcoming remarks on behalf of the board. And next week, we will have faculty and staff engage in professional learning experiences that will strengthen our collective practice as we engage in continuous improvement. And thank you to our administrative team for the thoughtful and intentional design of that professional learning. And that, Mr. Chairman, will conclude my report.
All right. Any questions? Sounds like you all were just kicking back this summer with not much to do.
Yes.
All right. So that, I believe, brings us to summer program updates. So who's going first? Jeannie Charliglio.
This way you can.
Yay, happy to see you.
All right, we're gonna hope this works. Hold on. Yay, okay. Sorry, we had some
Oh.
technical.
We
What's it
can't
doing?
see.
They can't. This screen. So sorry.
I know. We have this fancy screen. You kind
I
of
know.
want to take advantage.
It's actually a really good system. I love that.
Yeah, it
I
is.
like it too. Which,
It doesn't like us.
It kind of feels like me at home. I'm like, come on.
Well, while he's working on that, I'll start off by saying thank you for having me here tonight. I always appreciate being able to come and share about the program. This year, again, was a record success, and once we get this up and running, I will share with you.
We're good.
You guys, is it up?
we're
Yeah.
good.
Awesome. So I can't begin by doing anything else other than thank the staff. They were amazing. Vinny, as always, was terrific. We had 2 new nurses this year that have worked with our school for many years. They work with the extended day program, who jumped right in and were wonderful. The administrative team, as always, is right there if I need them. And everything went off pretty much without a hitch. So enrollment increased. Last year was a record high of 611 enrollments. This year we were up to 623. As with historical precedents, for some reason, week 3 is always our highest enrollment. Can't figure out why, but I'm okay with it. Final numbers are still being finalized, but right now we do have revenue of about $12,500. The balance in the account, and Donna, you can fact check me on this, I believe is about $80,000, but we're going to be working on some reinvestment of some of those funds back into things that are highly utilized by the program. So things, especially things for the art room and some of the technology stuff that is really used heavily by the SEP program during the year. So we had 55 unique classes this year, a total of 80 offerings. We have a morning session and then an afternoon session. So it goes 8:30 to 11:30 and then 12 to 3. Families are able to pick and choose what they want from a morning session and an afternoon session, making it a very a la carte experience, which is wonderful for them. We also try to be as flexible as possible, knowing that sometimes kids sign up for something and then after day one, I get an email that says, yeah, maybe that wasn't the best choice. So there's a little bit of ability to move them around. A lot of the classes repeat, especially our kindergarten classes, which is why there's only 55 unique ones. So we did have a bunch of positive changes this year. Thank you mostly to Superintendent Montini, who supported some of my ideas. One of the biggest ones is we shifted from a teacher-driven program to a more director-based program. So I was able to create the course offerings, make the brochures, get everything out there I need water in this place. Way sooner than we were able to do in the past, which was great because one of the big feedbacks that we get from families every year is that our program tends to publicize and get out there a little bit later than some of the more traditional camps. So getting that out there a little bit sooner was super helpful to the families. We also moved from a 4-day-a-week to a 5-day-a-week program. And I got really good feedback from families on that. It was helpful to a lot of people. This year we did a beach or beautification class, which was probably my most favorite thing ever. You're seeing a little bit of a snippet of the mural that was designed, painted, and completely done by the students under Lucille Smitak, who is a genius. You are the best. Thank you so much. We also did bulletin boards that are in the kindergarten hallways. Again, the students designed them with her, created them, put them up, and 5 large SEL-focused student-created paintings and some inspirational signs around the loop. We also implemented this year for the first time ever an early registration discount of 10% and then 5%, which realized savings of over $5,000 for Beecher families. So I put the word small, really small, because they really were small challenges. We did have a little bit of an unexpected increase in salary costs. Historically, I've split the cost of an SRO and the nurses with the Woodbridge Recreation Program, but I found out pretty much right before the program began that they were choosing to go a different route and hire their own SRO and nurse. So I had to absorb the full cost, but we still were completely solvent. Cooking classes also, which were one of probably the most popular things we had, carry a disproportionate cost compared to some of the other programs. So kind of moving forward, we're going to look at either some kind of increase to just those classes or maybe a little bit of a fee that goes along with it. And there were a few last-minute unplanned staffing issues. One of the most happy ones was Nell DeAndrea moving over into the North Office staff. I missed her at SEP, but I'm so glad for her that she is there. So moving forward, I have a parent survey that is going out tomorrow. Collect a little more data on what people think and need moving forward. We are going to add some additional classes based on some transferable skills. Pasta making is one that I'm really excited to do, which I think will be great. Things like candle making. We're also, with the huge interest in the 3D printing program, going to do 2 separate 3D printing programs next year and add in the next level, which is going to be like the slicing and more advanced settings for 3D printing so that the higher level kids can get onto that piece of it. We talked about revising hiring practices and policies so that people that can commit to all 5 weeks of the program will be weighted a little more heavily than people that want to work piecemeal. It's just very difficult to make a balanced program with people that can only work a morning here or a week there. I also want to increase community engagement next year, invite community members, including all of you, if any of you want to come visit next year. I got the idea actually from Rec because they had the fire truck there one day, and I'm like, why did I never call the fire department? So I got a lot of positive feedback from people that I've talked to very informally so far about doing it. We also are going to discuss a possible discount for children of BRS employees to help with that. So pictures are always the best. I kept this pretty brief. Kindergarten is always the heart and soul of the whole SEP program. It's just pure joy in that hallway. And Laura Sexton is a genius, and I'm so glad that she comes back year after year. Active programs, we had a lot this year. One of the highlights this year was for our Ninja Warriors class. I got a real Ninja Warrior to come in and talk to the kids. They thought that was just the best thing ever. It did help that he was my cousin's son, but he was actually on the show, so that was really fun for them. Did a lot of outdoor, and on a couple of the inclement days, we switched and used those gyms to the fullest. Science classes are always super popular. Eggs were a big thing this year. We did egg drops, we did egg explosions, it just worked out that way. Lots of egg stuff. Technology, everything is very hands-on, no passive classes at all. It's all creation. So battle bots, 3D printing, digital art and digital movies where they create their own movies, a lot of coding. So that was a fun class to be in. Art exploration, again, all very hands-on. Crocheting was a huge hit. We actually combined the crocheting with some tech this year. We 3D printed bases for their little designs that they were making so that they could make purses and pocketbooks and bottle holders. So they 3D printed their little bases. One of the coolest things I've ever seen was Lucille figured out a way to use those cheap bead necklaces to make tiny little balloon dog earrings, and they were the most adorable things I've ever seen. This is some of the Beecher beautification. It doesn't capture it to its fullest. Hopefully the next time you walk the halls, you'll see everything hanging up. The kids walked around with blue tape and put big X's on walls with hopeful spots that Vito's team can hang some of the pictures. The mural is now complete and gorgeous, and signs are all around the loop. We do try to use the campus as much as we can, so students were outside every single day. Rock Stars was beyond the favorite. I did not know how much kids would get into finding and smashing rocks. It was very interesting to me. I didn't think that would be the favorite. But. And cooking, again, was a huge hit. So we were able to utilize the cafeteria and all plug in. We can't use the actual kitchen because you need certain certifications and all that. But we were able to use waffle makers and donut makers and griddles and all kinds of things. And the kids were able to learn a lot of transferable skills. A lot of the positive feedback I got from families was around their kids coming home. We did a microwave cooking class this year, which was fun. And kids were going home and making omelets and brownies and things completely independently for their families when they went home. So giving them some of those transferable skills. And then we always have a series of themed classes. If you had the opportunity to walk by the American Girl or Barbie room, it was the most peaceful Zen place on earth. When I needed a break, that's where I would go. We had games around the world, which was super fun. Legos is always popular, and kids are always amazed at the collection of Legos we have, thanks mostly in part to this generous community who keeps saying, "Would you like some Legos?" And then I say, "Yes, please." And they get to build things that they could never imagine. And as always, I wanted to end with just a few of the family testimonials. So these were just a couple of the messages. My favorite being the one that was handwritten for me by a third grader, which I just thought was so adorable. And I was happy to see on the Beecher Road School PTO Facebook page, there were some positive things that were put out there, but I also got some good feedback, and one of the things that a parent said was about the timing. So again, thank you to Superintendent Montini for supporting me with moving things around quicker so that families can know what's out there and have an opportunity to register a little sooner, because that was the biggest piece of feedback I got was camps open so early, and if we don't open until April or May, they've already made their decisions. So. And at a later date, because I know it's summer and all of you probably want to go home, there is a video recap that you can watch. It's about 17 minutes in length, but as always, it's set to music and kind of gives you a better glimpse of what a day in the life of SCP was like. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
This is fantastic. And I mean, I just really appreciate how much it's a learning environment for you as the person leading this work. That this isn't static, it's not we're doing it the same way we've always done it. You know, it's really that fresh thinking, that innovation. I mean, expanding to 5 days, you know, as a parent, that just makes all the difference in the world in terms of planning. You know, and having that flexibility for morning and afternoon, like this is, I mean, I need to take that cooking class if you have any pointers.
I went in to take the cooking class a couple times. It was great. So the Mexican was my favorite, I have to say.
Now, I'm just curious, one question, then we'll open it up. How do the ages break down among, say, those 623 participants? Do they skew younger? Do they skew older? Is it sort of goes across this sort of K-6 range?
Super
I'm just
mixed
curious.
bag this year, more so than any other year, I have to say. We had more students in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade this year than we've had in the past, which was great. I think a lot of that was because we did scaffold up. I chose strategically scaffold up some of the classes to make it more appealing to those students. The way I create the brochure, I make like a matrix, and I make sure that every morning has an active class, a themed class, a cooking class, so that there's something, and then I try to make sure the ages balance out so that there's something for everyone. That probably was the hardest thing I had to do. That took a very long time to make it as balanced as I could. But it was really diverse. We had, of course, kindergarten is always kindergarten, but then there was 1st through all the way going into 7th across the board. There was no grade level not represented this year.
Fantastic. Questions, comments?
Maybe an observation or a comment. You'd mentioned that week 3 typically tends to be the most well attended. Is there any correlation in terms of when we release what programs are going to be available?
It's all released at the same time, the
I'm saying
brochure and the
maybe the
registration.
first 2 weeks parents have planned out,
That-
and then when the information is released, that gives them some time to figure out where they want to enroll. for
I
summer.
honestly hadn't thought of that. That would make sense. The survey's going out tomorrow. I might add in a question
Just to see
about that,
where-
because I have time before I send it out tomorrow. That would be good data to gather. I don't know if it's just vacations or where it falls, like people are going away towards the beginning of the summer and towards the end, so in the middle they're around. I don't know, but I will add a question in about that because I'd be interested to know as well. I looked back at the last 3 years, and week 3 for the last 3 years was higher by at least 20 every single year,
Interesting.
which was interesting to me as well, but I'm not quite sure why. But that would make sense, so,
But I mean, I think getting the information ahead of time would certainly be helpful.
yes.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Fabulous, Jeannie, thank you.
Oh, thank
As
you. I
always.
appreciate you taking the time to meet with me.
No.
I'm gonna,
And where can we access the video?
I can send it directly to all of your BOE email
I was
addresses.
gonna
That
say,
would be
because I
great.
clicked on it in Board Book and no video came up. So that, if you could send a link to all of us.
I'll send the direct video link to all of you.
Yeah,
if you
that'd
want.
be great.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and now we have Carrie Borcherding to talk to us about extended school year.
I have to tell you, I'm so excited that I get to go after that because everything I'm going to share is so exciting.
How are you gonna top that?
I would not say that ESY is every child's favorite activity. However, we do try to make it enjoyable. Can you see?
No.
We can see
Okay.
nothing.
I don't know.
Oh, it's our computer, I should have.
It's a computer. All right. So, hopefully now things are coming up. Yes,
Okay.
you're
Yes.
good? Great. Thank you. All right, extended school year, ESY, is the special education programming that happens every summer. It is a delivery of services to students who require additional supports as part of their IEP that they need outside of the typical school year. So there are, at every PPT meeting, which is the planning and placement team meeting that we have for special education students, every year we have to talk about whether or not a student is requiring additional services outside of their school day. I will say that it is not the norm to get extended school year services. There are 3 areas in which you look at, which is the regression recoupment. How much time does it take for a student to regain the skills after a longer break or summer or a winter holiday? Does it take a long time for the student to get back to where they were right before they left? We have either behavioral needs or continuation of current progress. So was there some sort of behavioral scenario, or if there are students who are like just making progress on a skill and we want to continue that progress, that might be a decision why we move forward with extended school year. And then severity of disability also can play a part in it. If you need activities of daily living and that continuity of a program, you may be eligible for services. So we have 2 kind of program models that we're running. There's the 9 to 12 program, which is the pre-K program. They're 3 and 4-year-olds mixed together. That is just special education students in the summer. It is not their typical peers. 1 social emotional learning classroom, also working on some behavior, and there were a few kids learning some other life skills within that, but it's still that routine of school and continuing that through the summer so they're not losing. Which at one end or the other, before and after ESY, you are still going to have some time where routines have changed, but it does just bridge that gap a little bit. And then our academic and life skills, which is a class for students with more significant needs, so a lot more of that activities of daily living. Of course, in the summer, we try to make it more exciting and do some different activities, but it is still academic-based programming. The 8 to 10 a.m. is offered to students who need support specific to areas like reading, writing, math, maybe executive functioning. And students come for 1 to 2 hours, once or twice a week, depending on the student. Some had daily for an hour. Again, it's that continuity of the instruction and continuing that progress. Who qualifies for ESY? Right now, about 47% of the population was eligible for ESY. I think we've done a great job bringing that number down. It's still quite high compared to many other places. About 4 years ago, we were in the 70% range, so we've definitely come down. And one thing that I've discussed with colleagues in the BOA region is looking at kind of a similar checklist almost as to what does a student need in order to streamline the process of who is getting ESY, because Amity is also receiving students who it's different from Bethany, Woodbridge, and Orange. So trying again to work together to make that process make more sense. One thing I really like is that our incoming K students have the opportunity to attend with their new teacher and or the program that kindergartners would go to, which is really nice. So they're not just with the pre-K friends, and we have a big cohort coming in this year to kindergarten. So that was really nice that they got to kind of experience something new in a new classroom in the hall. And then our outgoing 6th graders, because ESY is in July, they start theirs with Amity because they're officially an Amity student as of July 1. So they go to, this year I believe that it was in Orange and maybe at the high school. I don't know if there was another slide there, but the staff this year, we were fortunate to have a lot more paras who were interested in working this year and a number of teachers who have returned year after year. We partner general ed and special ed teachers together when they're delivering service within some of the groupings. We also had Melissa Caprosi and Jennifer Winslow who organized the whole thing top to bottom. I told them they didn't have to talk tonight because neither one really wanted to do that. But they did a fantastic job collecting emails and information from all the families, which can sometimes be the hardest part, and negotiating what weeks certain people have off for vacations and who's coming and who's not. So great job collecting data, really streamlining all of that, and then collecting all the information again to get progress reports out to families so they know what their student worked on over the summer. Again, our paraeducators, we had a wonderful group of paraeducators, some who returned also from out of district or were home from college and they worked, which was really nice, and they've continued to come back. And then a number of our paraeducators actually worked SEP in the afternoon, so they did have that continuity of a day and got to do, the fun, exciting things along with a little work in the morning. We also were very fortunate, and thank you to Jacqueline Jones, who came to us as a speech and language pathologist. She's worked with us in the summer before, and she does not work in our district most of the time, but she has worked for us several summers, so we're very thankful that she was willing to come back and do that again. And then, again, we had Dara DeCapua, Colleen Jin, who both work with us during the year, and Debbie Sachs, who's our teacher of the hearing impaired, who also worked over the summer. I think that's the end of my slides. I don't know if you have any questions.
So, great. And remind me, is it 4 weeks?
This summer was 5 weeks. It's somewhere between 4 to 5 weeks. We try to align with Amity, and everyone kind of was aligned. We were off by like a week or so at some places, but typically it's around 20 days is pretty typical, 18 to 20 days.
And so you said 47% of students who are identified as special ed
We're
in the school year were determined to be eligible
for ESY at the PPT meetings.
And how many of those actually participate in the program?
That I can get you that
Yeah,
number.
I'm just curious. Is it like half or is it most? Or?
I would say the majority of students attended. It was a very small number who didn't come at all. Several were open choice students. So when you're open choice, you have to go back to your home district for summer.
Oh,
because
really?
there's no transportation, and that's where your service would be delivered. So we did have a few students who went back to New Haven for that. We've also in the past had students who parents elected to drive them. And then there are a few times where someone will have a week of vacation here or there, but for the most part, I'd say nearly all students who were eligible participated in some form. For some kids, that was 1 or 2 hours a week, and others it was the entire 4-day program. And we did continue. I know SEP changed this year to 5 days. We still continued on a 4-day. I did offer, and we discussed kind of as a team what that would look like if we offered 4 or 5 days. Amity offers 3 days for like what we do from 8 to 10, and a 5-day program for students who are in a more life skills based program. There are different reasons why they do that and why we do ours, but one of the things is I want to have, and I love having our staff members be the ones continue with the students, and it's important that we're also, they like to have a Friday, and I don't blame them that they like to have a Friday, and I think that's important to kind of weigh out what works and what doesn't when it comes to those pieces in order to keep the best staff in front of kids for the summer program. So.
Yeah. And it's school for the kids. It's like, it's still, it's
Right.
an hour, but it's still school. So
Right.
yeah, not having it on Friday
Right.
does feel a little nicer.
Yeah.
Questions, comments? Mike?
Do we have a sense of, so those who participated, 47% or so, well, not all of that 47% participated, you said most of them did. Do we have a sense of performance during the school year of those who participated in the program versus those who didn't participate in the program but who were eligible?
Sure. I mean, I can't necessarily speak to specifics, but we definitely have students where we have made them eligible and had hoped they would come, and their parental choice is sometimes not to. And you definitely can see some of that regression piece at the beginning of the year with either scores or routines. It's really hard to come back in that way. For the most part, I think it is a really positive we see a lot more positive results from that continuing the progress, especially around like a reading program, being able to have that continuity. But I will say there are students who elect not to come, and we will see regression in their abilities, just because it's not the routine. And even when you come in summer, even for like the life skills program, you're maintaining the skills. So you're not necessarily building more skills, you're trying to maintain what we already have. So for some kids, that's really hard because their progress is small and incremental. For others, if they're like rocking and rolling in a reading program, it's, trying to continue to build that momentum and not lose it. You do have another month at the end afterwards, so it's figuring out what activities we can give kids to keep working on at home, to keep reading, and keep those skills up until we come back.
Yeah, I was just, that's helpful to know. I was thinking that, having a sense of the effectiveness of the program in that way might be persuasive for urging some parents maybe who are on the fence thinking like, do I really need my child to participate in this program or not? Have some kind of sense of like, of those who do participate, we see pretty substantial benefits.
Yeah, and I would say, I can get you the exact number. I would say over 90% of the ones who are eligible came to the program. So, it is a really high percentage. It's a handful who don't.
Okay.
And then it's often maybe they're leaving the country for a few weeks at a time or things like that where like it's unavoidable at the time that it happens. But for the most part, I'll say it's pretty well attended.
Okay, all right. Well,
Yeah.
it's that high. Then.
Yeah, it's really high. I still think we're probably over-identifying students to attend, and that's something our team needs to continue to work on, but we have come down from what that was. I also hypothesize that some of that may be related to when the district did, and this was before I got here, the learning enrichment that was in the summer, that I think a lot more kids became ESY eligible because they would have then been offered the learning enrichment, so they just made them ESY eligible, and now it's kind of pedaling back from what that looked like. That's kind of what I am guessing it is, because there were some kids it sounded like who maybe participated in both. But we'll continue to work on that in the next year cycle. So.
Other questions, comments?
One
Yes,
quick question.
please.
With the kindergartners, how does that work? Are they ones that transition from the pre-K to kindergarten, or it's also available for kindergartners who haven't been part of the pre-K program? So how do you identify?
So students who can attend ESY have already been identified as a student with a disability, and they have an IEP. We have students who come from our pre-K, and then we also have students this year who are coming from other pre-K programs and or moving into district. In fact, this summer we had several students who we offered ESY to them as a transitional support because we knew it was going to be really hard to just jump in moving from another school. One or two of them, their IEPs are either from another state or another town, and because of when they moved, they weren't going to access the supports where they were, so we did our best to kind of bridge that gap. But if a student is, they were usually referred by whatever district they were in, and for the most part, we knew about them coming into kindergarten, so I would say, again, like 90% of the kindergartners were from our school. There were a handful. There were also a couple of kids in upper grades that we knew were moving in that either came for a few days or, came in and toured or met people when we were in session.
And Carrie, one last question. Is the staffing, say when 70% were being identified as ESY eligible versus 47%, is the staffing level the same? Are you able to use fewer staff, or is it that you have more or less the same staff and they're able to focus more time per learner?
I think what's interesting is that even in the last 4 years, the students that that are coming to Beecher, either moving in or coming up through the younger grades, have a much higher level of need than we've had in the past. So what we need for ESY, like we've never had to life skills rooms. So there is definitely a higher level of need coming in for students or moving into this district, which I guess means that we're doing a great job, which I love. We also have, I think, people's timelines and what they want to work and piecing it together. Again, I'm kind of like SEP. I'd prefer people commit to the entire summer in terms of working. And it sounds like in the past, prior to me getting here, things were put together, pieced together a little bit differently. And so there were more people interested in working. When you say you need to work the whole program, some people want to have their summer, and rightfully so. They're entitled to do that. But we've kept the numbers, I think, pretty consistent. You also hire knowing what you need, and then someone tells you they're taking a vacation for 2 weeks. So, there are times where we had staff, like an extra person somewhere because the child wasn't there for 2 weeks, but we'd already committed to hiring that person. We shared a little bit with SEP when that happened, if they were needing some people. So we tried to work through that, but that's always the challenge. And I think compared to a previous district I work in, I feel like we do a pretty good job of hiring exactly what we need and not having a lot of overage or not having a last minute rush to try to find people to help support.
This is great. Carrie, thank you. And, something I'm just going to bring up that you've shared with me at other times is, while you're working with students who may have a higher level of need, I've always appreciated your emphasis on not doing things for kids, really supporting them like they need to do the work, and really creating that dynamic. And I think that's what's so important too, and what's
For
really
sure.
been benefiting our learners the
Yes,
past several years.
I would agree.
It comes from you, so yes, I would hope so. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Cheryl, pinch hitting, sports reference. It's about the only one I'll manage.
So I'm very excited to be presenting the report today. And I am pinch hitting for Mrs. Annalisa Sherman, who is celebrating her birthday today. So a very happy birthday to Lisa, who's out there. She will definitely appreciate the sports reference, and we'll just let her know that she needs a drop 8. So that's, we're very excited to be celebrating her, but also I'm here to share a little bit more about what's gone on over the summer. Just to reiterate the amazing things that have happened over the summer, we had both the SEP and ESY programs, so a huge thanks to Jeannie Tarliglio for a wildly successful SEP program. The kids loved it. The halls were filled with joy. Our youngest learners were there learning what it's like to be in kindergarten. The administrative team had the opportunity to go in and read, and the students seeing our new kindergartners as they would walk throughout the building after each one of us had gone in to read, they would say, "Hi, you were in our room, I know you." And so it was very exciting to see their excitement about coming to Beecher Road School. The building, we also had the opportunity to see many BattleBots challenges at the end, and the exciting thing about some of the different programming that Jeannie was able to do is students, while they might have been signed up for one thing, they got to see the activities of the other students. So at the end of the week, different classes came in to see the egg drop challenges out on the playground. Other classes got to go in and see the actual BattleBot challenges and create some of the different pieces that were in each of the battles. So it was really a fantastic opportunity. The buzz around the cooking classes was unbelievable. They were so excited to be there and to be in the Beecher Road School cafeteria and doing all of these amazing things. So again, it was a wonderful success. And ESY, our students, continued to have their services as needed, but also came willingly, and we're excited to be there. And the really great thing about both Jen Winslow and Melissa Caparosi, who organize the program is a lot of those kids come in first thing in the morning and then are able to then go join SCP or Woodbridge Rec, and so they could go and join other activities and still receive their services. So we really have a phenomenal staff who work well with all of the families to be able to get those services in early so that those kids can have a traditional summer experience of camp or whatever it is that they're signing up for. So it was fantastic in that regard. Summer work, a huge thank you to our faculty and staff who came in and worked on curriculum. We focused on science and social studies this year, specifically in our upper grades, which was really great. So there was collaboration and hard work with our science and social studies teachers, making sure that we're aligning with all of our standards, as well as our reading specialists were involved, and in making sure that everything was going to be interconnected. So again, we truly appreciate all of their efforts. It was really fantastic. Another thank you, I feel like I'm very repetitive to some of the things that have happened, but a huge shout out to Vito and our custodial staff for working so hard all summer. Our floors are gleaming as you start to walk up different aspects of the hallways. Classrooms are done. It's been amazing to see the checklist as we walk around with like number 1, 2, 3, 4 layers of wax in certain rooms, and they've really worked hard to be able to shift around not only cleaning and waxing floors, but also moving staff. We've got, with our changing numbers of students and different grade levels and students, transitioning out of MAG into 5th grade, we are increasing with a section in 5th grade. So we added another 5th grade teacher, so a different section, so we were shifting classrooms as well. So they are still hard at work, and they've been fantastic, and as rooms have been ready, they let teachers know, so that teachers have started to be able to come in and set up their rooms as we go through each of the days leading up to the start of the school year. So a big shout out to them. Also, a big thanks to our administrative assistants who have done lots of behind the scenes work with getting things ready for students to come in with registrations in pre-K, kindergarten, every grade. So they've been doing lots of work back there to make sure that everything will go out later this week. And so we have, as Mr. Montini mentioned, we've had some new hires in the building and some faculty changes. So this year in kindergarten, as of right now, we're expanding to 6 sections in kindergarten, and we welcome Krista Dimitro down to the kindergarten team. And we're happy to have Jeanette Glennon move up to 3rd grade as we add a section in 3rd grade. Tim Rourke is returning to the classroom and will be joining the 5th grade team again as a 5th grade teacher and supporting a new 7th section. So that is our significantly bubble year. And with Tim's transition back to the classroom and a retirement, we have hired 2 special education teachers. So we're adding and welcoming Kate Dolcheski and Maggie Galvin to our special ed staff. And our last hiring that we've been doing is we hired Nell DeAndrea in the front office as Annalisa Sherman's administrative assistant. So shift her over from, she worked for us for years as a paraeducator, and now we have her in the front office. And so it's been a really fantastic change. We appreciate it. And our new team members have been in the building and excited and beginning to prepare their classrooms, and we can't wait to welcome them officially to the faculty at convocation. And they are very excited, as we all are, to welcome the students on the 31st. So those are the amazing things that I've had that have gone on at Beecher, and thank you so much. Questions?
Well, nicely done and busy summer.
Busy summer, yes.
Questions? Comments, anyone?
I don't know, people think that the school kind of goes into a shutdown mode in the summer. And for those of us who have been in the building, we know that that isn't true. And so along with all of the people that you thanked, I think the board appreciates what the administrative staff has done over the summer. Absolutely. And moving things along. I always find it amazing. And it just, I remember Dr. Stella always, his favorite comment about Beecher Road School was that it was a building that never slept. And we used to laugh because he would say it so often, but it is so true. And so I hope that all of you got some sleep and some rest over the summer. And I just know that as a board member, and I know my colleagues at this table appreciate what you've done too.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that brings us to other quiet things happening in the community. BRS Building Committee
Yeah.
report. Lynn.
How about that, the building committee? We have been very busy as well this summer, the building committee. And so I'll just give you all a little recap and tell you some of the things that have been done previously, and then some of the things that we're going to do as we move forward. So as a reminder, earlier this year, after many years, 2 years of work that was done by I don't even remember the name of the committee at this point, but we really did great studying, and then the Beecher Infrastructure Upgrade Building Committee took over. That was appointed by the Board of Selectmen, and we recommended that we construct a new school facility rather than try to renovate what currently exists. And it was based on 3 key interconnected reasons. One, most of the current building dates from the 1960s and 70s and would require some very massive repairs and rebuilding over the next 20 years in terms of infrastructure. 2, within the existing building, we don't have enough classrooms and learning spaces to meet our current needs. Programming have changed, special education demands have changed, and we don't currently have the space to accommodate all the needs of the students. And 3, from our population studies, our student population is expected to grow. So the committee realized that we would need to spend between $30 and $60 million to keep the doors of the current facility open and running properly. That does not meet the learning needs of our students. It is not ADA compliant. There are, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff Hughes, 16 levels that our current building exists on. So all of those ramps and many of the bathroom facilities are not ADA compliant. It is not environmentally efficient up to today's standards, and we could go on and on. So the committee considered spending that $30 to $60 million with, at today's dollar rate, to make improvements to the building but not meet those other needs, or to spend approximately $56 million for a new building that would fully address all of those issues and the challenges that we have facing us. So where we're at now is the question of whether to construct a new Beecher Road School building on what is currently the north playground of the campus will be decided by the town voters through a referendum. That's expected to be conducted on Tuesday, October 13th. So mark your calendars. Now, the interesting part of that we have learned is that based on our town charter, we need just over 2/3 of the people who vote will need to approve the referendum on the first vote in order for it to pass. And if that does not happen, then a second referendum will be called. And so if it's, first of all, this is how confusing this is. If the first vote is more than 50%, but less than 2/3 of the voters, then it can go to a second referendum. That second referendum then would need 50% plus one votes to pass for the building to be built. And that would be 2 weeks after the first referendum. So it's going to be a very busy time for all of us. It seems, those of us on the building committee have been scratching our heads and saying, how does this work? But it's the way that our referendums have always worked in the town. So when we voted on the new firehouse, we voted twice. You might not remember that, but we did. When we voted for the new library, we voted twice. The one exception was the project that we did in the 2014 referendum, which passed with 2/3 on the first vote. So that was like fairly unprecedented. And certainly that's what we would hope for this time. But we have the option for that second referendum. So, to help inform the community about what's going on, the building committee has been holding some public forums, and we had a table at the summer concert series, and we were available to people to come up and answer their questions and discuss the project. And so that's been effective. We will continue to hold opportunities for the community to come. We'll continue to hold public forums. But we've also sent out one newsletter. We're prepared to send out another. Stephen has just passed out, hot off the press, a draft for the second newsletter, which will be going out next week.
Yeah, the week before school
The week
opens.
before school starts, so that people will be home, get it, and read it. And we will have it posted online. There is a website for the building committee. I believe there's a link if you go to the school website or the town website. There's a link to the building committee website. And this will be mailed to all households. So you are getting the first look at it. Advanced copy.
Exactly. And so this has been created as a resource to ideally answer key questions people have, in a form that's readily accessible but doesn't go too far in the weeds. But, key things, how much is it going to cost? Because everyone is staggered by that total estimated cost of almost $119 million. But what we're also indicating is that over half of that cost would be reimbursed by the state of Connecticut.
Oh, and can I jump in and say, because
Go
I
right
did
ahead.
not say in my report, that is unprecedented as well this year, the amount of
Potential reimbursement.
potential reimbursement that we can receive from the state.
Yeah, for an
We
affluent
ma-
community
yeah,
like
we have
Woodbridge.
never been offered this amount of money.
So the 80 is factoring in that potential reimbursement?
Yes.
Yeah, so the 80 per month, so we're also answering that question, what's it gonna cost me as an individual taxpayer? We all wanna know. So basically, the town's director of finance has calculated for the average priced home based on the assessed value over the term of repayment, that $55.5 million we'd need to repay would cost about $80 a month in additional property taxes. So it'll vary a bit because, when you borrow the money, because it's not like you borrow all that money the first day construction starts. You'll bring in more money over time. But basically it averages out to $80. So it's not, you look at the big number and you think, oh, good heavens. And, but this is helping the goal of this is really to be able to answer all those key questions. Also, another question that comes up regularly is, well, where will the students be while construction is going on? And one of the beauties of this plan is they can stay in the same facility until the new building is completed. and at that point then transition. So we as a town are not looking for securing and paying for swing space to house our students while this construction would be taking place. It also includes a timeline with key dates, findings from the Woodbridge Community Survey, which went out in the first newsletter. So this is really a resource we see staying evergreen through the referendum. Ideally one, possibly two.
Right.
And so how can you help? Because I know that's the question that's on all of your minds. Well, yes, let me tell you. There are many ways you can be of support. So, and in very concrete ways. So we have 3 open houses coming up on September 2nd, Wednesday, September 2nd for kindergarten, 5th and 6th grade. Thursday, September 3rd for 3rd, 4th, and MAG. And Tuesday, September 8th for 1st, 2nd, and pre-K. What we need is board members who would welcome the opportunity to come, of course, and it could be the nights if you have kids in those grades or just because you got a free night. And we're going to print extra copies of this. So while it will be mailed to everyone's home, we also want to offer them to all the parents who come to participate, who may not have seen it because we all know how the mail goes. And so that, this will be a key opportunity. Lynn and I plan to speak about this at each of the open houses. This is really an opportunity because parents are going to be critical. If the referendum's going to pass, if we're going to make this happen, it's because parents, really turn out. So we want to make sure they're as fully informed as possible so they can make a decision and, and land where they land. So Lynn has so nicely created a sign-up sheet. Yes, Sarah Beth?
So when is it done? What's the schedule of when am I missing it?
2028 to 2030 is
Oh, but it
building
says the
construction.
peak- No, when is the $80 per month?
2032.
That just says that's the peak. That doesn't say it's done. It just says the peak.
No, the peak in
20
terms.
years. 20 years.
It's a 20-year bond.
Yeah,
20
it's a
years.
20-year bond.
20
So
years.
2032 would be when you'd see the greatest implication on your taxes, which would be about $96. But then other periods, it's going to be less than
Less.
$80.
Does QR code have a schedule for if your home is valued at more than 651? Because a lot of
Yes,
homes here are
and
more than
less. too.
Well, it gives you
Yeah,
your
or-
assessed
yes.
value
It'll
and.
give you your
that.
assessed
And the way
value.
to calculate what your-
Ye-
if
Yeah,
your
there's not a
equity-
calculator at this point, although we've been talking about that.
Yes, we have.
Because I think, what was it? Cheshire did that? Was it Cheshire or Farmington? Cheshire actually created a calculator. So we've been pursuing, seeing if we could get access to that, where you literally could put in your property value, your assessed value, and get an estimate of what the impact will be. Yep,
So
absolutely.
those are good questions people are.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't say it anywhere in here, so it's.
The 20 years.
Yeah, so the debt service is 20 years, we should, if that be known.
I think that should maybe be in here, because that's gonna be, I feel like why are you not saying that?
Great point.
This is not going to the printer yet?
Yeah, no, that's why it's marked draft, so there's an opportunity for refinement, and I think that's a great recommendation for refinement. So.
So we'll
Well,
start.
it does say, actually, I do see it over the next
Start
20
with there
years,
and
but
we'll
maybe
come around.
somewhere else.
Make it a little more prominent.
Opposed to-
Yeah. No, I think we could also add it in that section. I think that's a very good
the
point.
text about the peaks when it was confusing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then another opportunity will be the ice cream social on September 10th. We will have an opportunity to have the building committee will have an opportunity to have a table there, but we'd also like to have people greeting families as they come in. And again, September 10th. Thursday, September 10th, my favorite event of the year.
Yes, and Stephen and I have discussed how this really is impeding us being able to hand out ice cream this year.
Exactly, but if you come, you do get an ice cream.
You do get
at
an
the end.
ice cream, right?
Yeah. The other, which we don't have with us this evening, is the building committee will be meeting with a range of boards and commissions to talk about the project, answer questions, and we will share that schedule. It'd be great to have as many school board members as possible participate in those evenings when those conversations will be taking place. So, other thoughts, questions? Sarah?
The state reimbursement, was that be staggered over the entire period of the debt, or how does that reimbursement work?
Well, so, good
That may be a
question.
question that
Yeah, I don't want to, and I don't want to misspeak. I will say, for the referendum, we will be voting on that full 118.5 million. Knowing that there's going to be this substantial reimbursement, and important to note, and we have noted it in here, is if the referendum passes, but for some reason the state does not approve the reimbursement, we are not moving forward. So that's it. Those go hand in hand. But in terms of the timing of whether the reimbursement is as the costs are accrued. Yeah, do we wait till the end? I actually don't know the answer to that. Whether it's at the very end of the project that we get reimbursed, or if it's an ongoing reimbursement. That's a really good question.
because
I don't know if you all
don't know
have
if
any
that-
sense.
For the roof and stuff you do, but this is so big, I believe there is a process where the contractor bills go straight to the state. Does that sound right to you, Chris? Have you ever done a whole school?
We did, we do a renovate to do, and you can get pieces of progress payments throughout to reimburse.
the reason I
But
ask
it's
is
after the fact, and it does take some
that,
time.
yes, the average increase might be say $80, but that could have an impact whether the average increase is higher in the initial months when you are still receiving the reimbursements, or if you receive it upfront, there might be a lower increase in the initial months, and it still averages out about $80 per month over the entire life of the loan or the debt or whatever it is.
Right, although it's not like we won't be borrowing 118.5. We won't be going to bond for that. We'll only be going to bond for the 55.5, so it shouldn't impact that estimate. Because, we're not borrowing the piece that the state will ultimately reimburse. It's probably more of a timing factor now that,
Yeah, I think
I said
it's,
May have
the
some
first few
impact.
years you're borrowing less. It's not till you're in year 6 and 7 that I think,
you'll, like when you get to completion and you have to,
So that $80 average would be a differential amount over the years.
and that's what they're projecting. I mean, the director of finance did say that 2032 would be the peak year in terms of an individual homeowner's property taxes, and that would be $96. Which also means in other years it'll be $60 or $70.
Right.
And
And
per
Tony
month.
Genovese did a presentation on that to the building committee, which I believe is on the website, that presentation that he did.
Right.
So, you can go and watch that too.
on the YouTube channel, or the,
If you click on,
I mean, it's linked from the
it's
building
linked
committee
on the
website.
building committee website, I believe.
Yeah.
One
Sure.
similar question is, if we don't move forward with the new building, there is still a cost of 30 to 60 million over the next few years,
And
That's
maybe
right.
more.
the- which will also contribute to an increase of some sort of the tax.
Oh, and it could be the same increase.
Every night.
It could,
The
well,
$80 increase, does that factor in that no matter whether you build a new building or not, there is still an escalation in the tax?
this is the estimate of what the new building would cost the average homeowner. Technically speaking, if does not move forward, voters don't approve it, or sufficient share don't approve it, then we know we're facing at least 30 to 60 million in costs. And the reality is, in the current construction estimate, if we don't pass this year and we take it back to referendum next year, they have already estimated it's going to cost 4% more. And there's going to be a 4% escalator every year that this project is not advanced. Alternatively, we as a community are going to pay $30 to $60 million and probably potentially more, depending on kind of the increases over time, just to keep the doors open on the existing facility without having addressed any of the challenges we're currently facing.
That's precisely the point. Like, can we capture that somewhere? Because whether we build a new building or not, there is a potential increase
Yeah,
in the
there's-
tax
that's
base,
somewhere
no matter what.
Right, and we actually have that why now.
Why
So
now?
right on the front page, in bold, it's like,
But I
you're
think-
gonna,
I
you're
think
gonna,
it's
yeah.
What I'm
like
trying to
a
say
dollar
is-
amount, so that they can see, like,
Because
this
whether
is
you
what
build
you're
a new
gonna pay.
building or not, there is potential and escalation of, if it is 30 to 60, I'm just ballparking.
Right.
Right now, let's say a $55 million project is gonna cost $80 a month increase potentially for an average homeowner. If you don't do that, there is still a potential spend rate of 30 to 60 million, which would contribute to a possible increase of $40 to $80
Yeah, could there be a
average
Right.
increase. So,
calculation where
because
you
most
could-
of the residents are going to be concerned about what is my tax bill going to be. So whether we build a new building or not, you're still looking at an increase of roughly $40 to $80.
Right. I think,
Just from the messaging perspective, that it's not a significant
ask Tony.
increase whether you're building a new
yeah,
building or not. You're still looking at a potential $40 to $80
What
increase.
path?
I agree. And, yeah, I think seeing a dollar amount like this versus this, and this is great, but it's a lot of reading, and I just see, yeah, sure, $80, and it's gonna go up, and yeah, okay. I would maybe wanna see more like, this is what you're gonna spend, this is what you're gonna get, this is what you're gonna spend, this is what you're gonna get. Like, a
Maybe
little
that's a
bit
third.
more of a,
that may be the
Just a-
third.
That might be the
commu-
third
Just a simple
Communication.
analysis of
communication that will
what
go
would
out.
be the
Yeah.
scenario
No,
if
no,
we
totally
don't
get
do
it.
anything, and what is the scenario if we do something?
Right.
And then knowing that if you don't do anything, you're still not addressing the structural issues.
Exactly,
So
which are
what you're getting
captured.
for the money is nowhere near.
Correct.
Because there's certain things that you can't fix.
Correct.
Well, that's the thing, and you're gonna spend $40 to $80 a month,
No matter what.
and you're gonna have a building that's another 20 years
Right.
older.
So
you know,
just a
that's-
simple table or schematic saying,
Yeah,
if you
I
follow
think
through the
that would
current
be,
schematic,
That would be
That
the,
would
the
be
this
fun.
is what it is.
Yeah.
And if we actually invest in the future, this is what you're looking
and
at.
like a
Yeah.
visual too, maybe
Right.
at the school or something.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about potentially the third mailing being a large, the large size postcard for the building committee, that the building committee would do. And that could be a great way to, a great focus for that piece. Yeah,
It's,
no,
it's a simple, clear message that if you don't.
it's like you're
properly-
paying one way or the other. Like,
If we generally took the 40 to 60 million dollars and sort of just amortized that over the 20 years and calculated it, would that, at least for, in your opinion, be enough for you? Because from my perspective, it's hard to create a 20-year sort of defensible facilities plan in a really short time. It's actually harder to do that than it is to hire people to do a new school all at once.
I think we have an estimate of 30 to 60.
We do.
Right? We know we are going to
So if we just
spend
took that, what would
And
that
if we
be
can
over the
use
course
that-
of
that
20
number.
years, and how would that relate to the assessed value and the impact of the mill rate?
And we even know what the projects cost that make up that estimate. So just have to make a decision. Who knows if it's gonna be perfect of
Right.
how we
We
would
this
do them
in
over
this
the
year,
20
this in
years.
This year.
And then if we did them in this fashion,
yeah. And I think it's also in this way, I mean, what we really try to do with this piece is provide exactly as much information as you need and not more, and make more accessible via the website, where we have the more detailed presentations and some of the more detailed breakdowns. Because I know, as a Woodbridge resident, I'm not necessarily reading every word as I'm doing everything else. It's kind of like, all right, what are the big things? Oh, okay, So, but I think this is a really
yeah, I think that
a very
that
good
would be
point.
compelling.
Because I do think it is. I mean, it's that question of, are you throwing good money after bad? Because you're going to be spending tens of millions of dollars. I mean, it's interesting. We're going to talk about chillers, and sort of replacing these boards. And one of the things that came up in the conversation is these two chillers for our school, $4 million if you had to replace them. Just the chillers,
that's what
nothing
they were
else.
the first time.
Yeah.
Probably more now.
Oh yeah, probably more now. Yeah. So everything's really expensive.
That number stays in someone's mind, like, oh, I'm looking at a roughly $1,000 increase in my taxes. But if
Yeah.
you don't do anything, you're still looking at $500 to $600 increase.
Yeah,
So I think that contrast might be beneficial to
I agree. I think you're right.
answer some of the clouded minds.
Yeah.
Yeah, very compelling, I agree.
So,
So I just want to
Yeah.
check, because a question came up when people were signing up. Open house starts at 6 o'clock, is that correct?
We're getting the
Yes.
green light.
Okay, we're getting the green light on 6, which means that we would hope that people who sign up to distribute would be there at like 5:45,
or 5:30.
5:30,
We
5:45.
will be open at 5:30 because we're gonna do what we did before, which is specialists in special education will start at 5:30, so there will be people in the building starting at 5:30.
Okay, there's your answer, people.
All right. And reminders will come, and if we haven't heard from you, you will hear from us. All right, and Jeff?
Yeah, just a question on the referendum. Are there any other projects on the referendum?
No.
No.
Only
Just
this.
this? So
Yeah.
only one question.
We are
One
one
question.
question. Yeah.
Originally, there was some thought, like, I'm sure we have discussed that in the previous building committee, of lumping some stuff together, but no.
Do we have the question yet? 'Cause it'd probably be good to get the question ahead of the referendum so people are clear when they get there.
That comes from bond counsel. So no, the answer is no, we do not as yet have that.
Yeah, but they will provide the very
And
precise language.
And that's, I believe, the Board of Selectmen who will,
That's
I think
right.
as soon as we get that, we should make that be known.
yes,
Sometimes
Good
not
point.
worded as clearly as they can and should be come time with the referendum.
absolutely correct.
Yeah. And to that point, the fact that the referendum will specify that full 118.5 million, so that people are aware that is what we need, as voters need to approve, not that we're committing to paying that, but, yeah.
Right.
Very much along the lines of what you're saying. Okay.
Good question.
Sure.
So it's a 2-year process, so, because I know these kinds of questions are gonna, if we're at this open house.
Absolutely.
Like, what is the noise factor, safety for children since it's close proximity?
Yeah, no, and those are all,
I thought
I
you
mean,
talked about
we've talked about it in general terms as things we will absolutely need to address. And in fact, on the building committee, we have one of the teachers from Beecher, and a former teacher from Beecher, who shall remain nameless. And then, who are raising exactly those questions, because that will be important. I will also say, something we've heard from those who've had experience with prior construction projects is, kids are also really fascinated by it.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, it becomes part of your teaching and learning. But that's one of the reasons why, and I think you mentioned it, the building committee will be going to other boards and commissions and presenting. Like, one of the things we'll be doing is going to the police commission and talking about what our needs are gonna be for security and safety, and going to the fire commission and talking about what we might need from them, and
yeah.
so that's all part of the package, because then they're going to have to become partners in what we do. And what we did in 2014 is not going to be what we're going to be able to do in 2027, 2028.
Right. And the other piece of it too is there will be the lead up time, because in essence, the referendum is approved. First thing, immediately we're going out to find an architect. So there was the architectural firm that worked with us on the feasibility, the study, the planning that helped inform the ultimate recommendation of the building committee. But that's going to be a year-long, 12 to 18-month process to get to a design for the new Beecher Road School building. So a lot of that will be factored into that process as well, and what the building ultimately is going to look like, how it's positioned, how that site work will take place, all of those things. So great question, and yep, more to come. Funny, the real estate expert is asking these questions. So great. All right. Moving on, Finance Committee report. Well, the beauty is just started July 1. So I will say 1 month in, our projected costs combined for all categories are currently estimated at about $37,000 under budget. So is that, I mean, that was.
That's our June numbers.
Was that the June number? Did I look at the wrong thing in the report? Because I had 97, but then when I looked online, I saw the 37.
That's because we moved back the ESY labor. So,
Right.
To save ours, to help pay for the chiller. So,
Right.
so we're ending at, $39,000 turning back to the town. So, yeah.
Right,
that's
okay.
from last year's
I
numbers.
apologize. I was looking through. Anyway, we're not going through all the details because it's early in the year. It's the beginning of the fiscal year. But Donna, if you would lead us through the budget narrative for the year ended June 30th and what we did with the money.
So, yeah, as Stephen said, we talked about how, all year long, we'd been saying, we're running a surplus of $85,000 to $95,000, and that's because we had a vacant teacher position. We also had other staff on leaves, and so the reason that we're not turning back $95,000 is because when we learned of this expensive repair to the chiller, it is allowable to charge your ESY labor that really belongs to children's eligibility based on the prior school year. You're allowed to charge that back to the old year if you've met certain criteria, which we have. So realizing that with that surplus, rather than turn it all back, now that we've got this big repair, why don't we move $50,000 of labor expense back to the old year, frees up some room in this year that will make a chiller, an expensive repair, a little more palatable. So that's why the picture is different than we'd been saying all year long. But all of the surplus that we did have last year was all in the salaries and benefits areas for the reasons that we said. And the things that we were able to do with it, we listed out here. We did a very large bulk supply to relieve some of the asks from the families. Vito got 2 new snow blowers for less than we told before. We asked the nurse if there's anything that they felt that their department needed, and it was brought to our attention that our AED devices were pretty old, so we ordered new ones for the building, and we covered the reduced lunch fees for next year. We purchased 24 bikes, that a program where kids will learn to ride a bike in kindergarten. We were able to pre-purchase the iPads that got wet, and actually we're really buying the dry ones that are getting replaced, and some really exciting STEAM supplies. They're called Mystery Science Kits, and they're for the classroom in different grade levels, and they just make the lessons really easy for the teachers because all the supplies and everything are all organized. So all those things together. Another thing that allowed us to buy a little more is previously we were being pretty conservative with what we thought we'd get from New Haven. Then I had a conversation with them that told me that they were going to be giving us about $47,000 for the special services of their students that attend Beecher, and so that allowed us to go further down the list and pre-buy some of these supplies. So I think we did a pretty good job of buying some great things and still having, in the neighborhood of $40,000 to return to the town.
Any questions? All right. So let's talk chillers.
Okay, let's talk chillers. So about a year ago, our half of our chiller went down, and we have sent the board back 3 times to be repaired, refurbished, whatever you would call it, and it hasn't been successful. And you know, like a lot of things in this building, somebody comes out and is like, oh, it's been a long time since I've seen one of those, you know? And so, so I think Train literally felt lousy that they could not fix this thing. So they talked to their corporate overlords or whatever and came up with a solution for us. They're going to replace both boards for us. I suspect that perhaps they talk to one another or something. They don't want to just replace one. A nice thing is, like I said, 50% of it is operational right now. We did have some days where neither side was working this summer, and it was pretty uncomfortable in the building. So we do want to repair it. They will allow us to keep all the parts of the side that's working, and so that's thousands of dollars of savings of parts that are right on our shelf. If, you know, God forbid something happens, we'll have parts. The warranty that they're giving us is the same warranty they would give on a brand new system. So I think Vito feels very good about, you know, what we'll be getting. So it's a steep price, but, you know, we want to go with Train. They're the manufacturer. They know our system.
Yeah, and I think if I'm remembering correctly, the company that manufactured the boards originally is the one that tried to repair them unsuccessfully several times, and Train has now severed their relationship with that provider, and it would be a different provider.
All of these boards
putting in the new board.
of this particular type are now going to be replaced through this program over time as they fail. They're discontinued, for lack of a better term.
That we believe they created for us. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, 56,000 is a chunk, but it's not 4 million.
Right.
Plus inflation. So, that said, I'm going to
Which was not one of the things that was figured in that 30 to 60 million dollars.
Right.
So,
Well,
right?
probably. I mean, probably over.
Oh,
Because
over
that's
20
over
years.
20 years.
Over 20 years,
You know,
maybe.
we're
They took the life cycle late.
we're
Yeah.
over
12
16 years into
Yeah,
the
okay.
one we got or whatever. So it probably would be part of that. Yes.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to move that we authorize the administration to proceed with the replacement of both automatic frequency drives on the district's Train Stealth Chiller through Train's renewal program at an approximate cost of $56,000, and further authorize an exception to the competitive negotiation requirement pursuant to the district's purchasing procedures for equipment services contracts. Do I have a second?
Jeff.
Actually, Aaron.
Oh, Aaron.
I was looking that way, so.
Okay.
All right, discussion.
It's an offer we can't refuse.
Nicely put.
Yeah, from our facilities chair.
No, you make a good point, Lynn. Not everything lasts its supposed
Right.
useful life.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, should we move to a vote? All those in favor? Appears to be unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So then we have the proposed 2027-28 budget calendar.
Okay. This is really the very same. We just changed all the days, everything a day to make it this year. And if you recall, we kind of pushed things up a week and gave an extra week. You know, the thought then was that we didn't want to put brand new board members in a position to have to vote on something when they're walking in the door. But we liked the extra day. You know, I find that Chris is super helpful when it comes to the budget, so it doesn't stress me out to have things accelerated a week or 10 days. And so we're proposing that we leave it in the same pattern as the previous year.
Yeah.
That gives us an extra meeting or so, should we need it or want it.
And one of the things that was nice, we felt, about last year's was we were done with the budget before the holidays, so it wasn't trying to come back in January to do the final approval. That said, thoughts? What do people think? Were we good with that?
I think it's great.
All right, we're going to say we're good. Okay. Donna, thank you so much, as always.
You're very welcome.
All right, Policy Committee. Erin, you're on.
We've been through all of these policies, so I'm just going to read it. I move that we adopt policies 3,000, 3,100, 3,150, 3,250, 3,280, 3,434, 3,510 as submitted.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor? Done, unanimous.
I move that we adopt policies 3160, 3170, 3260, 3313, bless you, 3320, 3321, 3324.1, 3326, and 3560 as revised.
Is there a second? Jeff? I saw Jeff first. All right, any discussion? All those in favor? All right. Okay, after having had our fastest policy committee report ever, Sarah Beth, Cape Liaison report.
Really not that much to report, but again, the Cape conference is coming up in November. If you would like to attend, I know there is an upcoming meeting next week about Connecticut litigation with superintendents. Are you joining that meeting?
I believe we are. I think it's virtual,
Yeah,
and I think we're doing it together with BOA.
okay. You'll keep us updated.
I will.
Okay.
And I think that early registration
It's coming up,
is this week. So if we want to take advantage of the reduced
Does anyone
rate,
want to just tell Marsha they want to go now?
Marcia will be
Okay.
happy to take your reservation and do whatever needs to be done. Yeah, right.
Okay, thank you very much. All right,
And
upcoming.
we should probably decide who's going to go to the delegate assembly. Don't you think we should decide that?
Who?
Ask the next.
Everybody else do this.
Exactly, cross your fingers, like, not it.
Yes, I will happily go.
Sarah Beth,
Sarah
thank you
Beth.
so much for graciously offering. Lynn, I don't want to be in a dark alley with you. That's all I'm saying. All right, upcoming meeting presentations. Our next regular board meeting will take place on Tuesday, September 22nd, because Monday is a holiday. Special topics will include our annual PTO preview of plans for the coming school year, 10-year years of service recognition, and a strategic plan update. Monthly announcements of upcoming meetings. We have Finance Committee on Tuesday, September 8th at 4:30 p.m. Facilities, now I got backward, but Facilities Committee will meet on Thursday, September 3rd at 7:30 a.m. Policy Committee will meet on Monday, September 14th at 4:30 p.m. Sad how much time I spent on this and still got it wrong. The next BRS Building Committee meeting is tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. There will
Right
also,
here.
Right here. There'll also be a I'm glad you told me that. I would have gone to school. There will also be a community forum on Saturday, August 29th at 1 p.m. I believe it's in the library meeting room.
The community
Although
forum on Saturday?
Or did they get moved
Yeah.
to the Woodbridge Center?
No, we're in the community room of the library.
Okay, great. We hope that everyone will attend. We talked about the open house dates, but again, the September 2nd, 3rd, 8th, and ice cream social on the 10th, which brings us to new business.
Stephen, I think the policy committee was actually September 28th. Remember, we had gone and we had changed some of the dates for policy?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so policy is actually the 28th.
So, well, and I thought facilities was moving to the second Thursday, so I'm, We're working the kinks out.
You're good,
Start of the
you're
year.
good,
Okay,
so-
thank you.
September 28th.
At
September-
4:30 PM.
September 28th, thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. All right, so, under new business, we, at our July board retreat meeting, if I'm terming it right, talked about two new goals or revisions of our goals as a board for the 2026 to 2027 year. And what is that on the agenda? Board goals. I'm going to read the two goals, and then we'll make a motion. The first goal that we had decided upon is to foster a dynamic learning environment that prepares learners for a rapidly evolving world. Our second goal is to create and adopt a long-range plan that ensures the BRS building meets the needs of all students. So I will make a motion that we adopt the 2026-27 goals as presented. May I have a second? Jeff? All right, discussion. How are we feeling about our goals a month later? Good? Good?
Yep.
Any tweaks? We're all good? All right. All those in favor of adopting these goals? Sarah Beth? Okay. It's unanimous. All right. That brings us back to Superintendent Montini for a discussion of class size with action as appropriate.
Great, thank you very much. Can you cue up that next presentation if you don't mind? And then actually,
Do you need me to sit there and advance slides?
yeah, or I was gonna, Mrs. Toffelman-Madruga,
Sure.
perhaps you guys, be a clicker for me, do you mind?
Yes.
Awesome, yeah. There's not very many slides.
Cheryl looked so nervous.
I know. She's
What
like,
am I supposed to do?
No, yeah. Cheryl, you're gonna give the recommendation.
Just tap like the down and right arrow, as long as the other.
So included in your packet are the board's guidelines for class size when they were last revised, I believe in 2017 or 2018, but it was under, it should be in there as an attachment, it was in there in board docs. And essentially, those guidelines have been in place. Previous to that, they were established in '97, then they were updated, discussed, and they are 17 to 19 for grades K through 3. If you look at my presentation, it says K2, but it's K3. I have 3-6, 19 through 21, when in reality, grade 3 is it's K3, 17 to 19, and grades 4 through 6 is 19 to 21. So I'm going to take a few minutes to share with you where we're at. Hard to see the shading there. I chose light colors, but certainly if you have the printouts, there's significance at least on some of the color codes. So first of all, in that first column on the first slide, you'll see number of students. If you see parentheses, that essentially means it's the number of students and then those who are in the portal, right? They're in the process of registering, but they're not fully registered yet. There's no, I wish that there was sort of an exact science, but what I did is I did my best to share with you because we are flirting with some of the upper, the ceiling, if you will, of the guidelines. So guiding question for today is, what's the board's sort of appetite or tolerance for class size in certain grade levels, and a discussion on the direction in which perhaps that we should go. So case in point, we have 89 kindergarten students. 86 are in Power School fully registered, and we have 3 more in our portal. I included those 3 more as if they were to fully register. Most of them are just having to complete the paperwork. So if we go across, we don't have a MAG program. We have 6 sections, so we currently have an average of 14.83 students, and so the majority have 15, or the majority have rather 15, with some having 14, 15. It is highlighted yellow to indicate that we're below the guidelines, since we actually have a floor of our guidelines at 17. And I don't know the extent to which over time we collapse classes that are under, and likely we probably don't do it unless it's far under, I would imagine, in K. But that's what the highlighting, indicates there. Now in grade 1, which sort of has been sort of sneaky as of late, grade 1, we have comparable numbers with one less section. And that, even though it says 4, that's because it doesn't include MAG, but really it's 5 sections. So we have 93 students total, 91 of whom are fully registered, and 2 more are in process, meaning they started, they're in the system, they might need to get us a couple pieces of documentation, and then they can start. We have 17 students enrolled in MAG, divided by the 5 sections, and we essentially have an average class size of 18.6. The reason that we have 18.6 and 19 is because MAG has 17, which leads 19s for the other classes. If you are comparing to this document, you'll also know that this document doesn't include those that are in process, and mine does, so mine will have a couple more in certain grade levels. So we are at 18.6, close to 19, which is the ceiling, if you will, of our guidelines, or the high end of our guidelines. Now, their guidelines are guidelines and not policy, but I have tried to, over the course of the year, and even before I came to Woodbridge, get an understanding of what is a value and a standard, and I've watched the meetings, but we really haven't sort of unpacked, I think, as a group, what these guidelines sort of, I think, mean to us, which tonight's an opportunity, and certainly we can have deeper and further conversations, in the future. So at grade 2, we're at 113, 18 enrolled in MAG, for an average class size very similar to grade 1 at 19 or 18.83. And the reason I did the slash there is that tomorrow we're going to revisit the MAG waiting list, and we're going to make those MAG numbers likely a couple more, so that we can even some of those out a little bit. So that's green because we're still within the range. Grade 3, we are slightly below the range, 128, 19 students in MAG, 6 sections, 18.2 essentially. And then 4, 5, 6, we're all in the green. We're very close to the 21. We're all in the 20 and a decimal point. So we have some 20s and a couple 21s, a little more in 6th. The average class size is 19 and a quarter. That math won't work because I take out pre-K. So that's why I put the asterisks there. You don't include pre-K in class size. That really would throw it off. And pre-K, you essentially add staff, depending on the size of the staff, so it's not really the same comparison. So, what I did was and the next page is well, I started doing a 5-year, oh good, the color is better on this one, which is nice. So I did a 5-year look back at what our enrollment was so that I could try to get a sense of where we are in mid-August, so that I could forecast, okay, it's August 17th. Where might we be on the opening of school, since time is of the essence? And so I did that, and then I discounted the COVID year. So I did a 4-year look back, and we'll grow. This is something that I did a lot, and you do a lot when you have 8th graders into 9th graders, since there's a lot of choice in high school, who's going private, parochial, etc. And I think perhaps it could be a little more helpful in next year's projections. I also looked at, okay, once we start in September, how many more students? Because as you know, when we discussed previously, as it related to some of the enrollment projections, that we have a net migration of like 30, 35 students every year at Beecher. We grow that many throughout the course of the year. But the community planners didn't break it down by grade level. They only gave us student in. So student in is highest in grade 1 at 16, and then it gets a lot lower in the upper grades. But I need what's the net of that 16. So I'm attempting to do that ourselves with our data. Marcia gave me this red sheet for every month for the 5 years, and I put together this spreadsheet so that we, to the maximum extent possible, can do some forecasting. So, case in point, we generally, the last 4 years, average 3.5 more kindergartners from the mid-August, and it's not an exact science since it's not the same date in August, nor do we know the exact date that folks registered. We really only know that they're approved. But for our standpoint, it helps us to forecast. And then we get another 3 average throughout the course of the year. Below it, you'll see what the range is. Lowest year, we've added 1 to 5, 1 to 8 the rest of the year, and then we do the same thing in grade 1. So grade 1 is our highest, followed by grade 2, and it gets a lot lower in terms of net migration for the other grades. Almost so much where it's relatively negligible from a historical perspective. You're really just dealing with that anomaly where 6 kids register in 5th grade in 1 year, harder to predict. But if you look in grade 1, we generally have, we've had 6 last year, 6 the year before, start from mid-August to September. 4 the previous year, 1 the previous year, for an average of 4 1/4. The range is between 1 and 6. Now, interestingly enough, that's a negative number here in terms of the rest of the year. 1 year where we lost 4 students in that particular grade, so the range is -4 to 5. But the rest of the year in grade 1 really only averages out to be 1. But we need to be prepared for, since it's such a small data sample, anywhere from a loss to 5. And this next column is what's going to help us when we forecast better for next year, as I took a look at where did they end in June of the previous year, and where is the class when they start the following year in the following grade. So in 25-26, last year's 1st grade class, 12 more kids were in 1st grade at the start of the year than in kindergarten when we ended. So, and then the year before it was 9, then 7, then 5. So we know now that we average, at least for the last 4 years, 8 1/4 more kids in grade 1 to start the year than when we left in kindergarten. So we can, there's different theories, a community with different means and doing different things in kindergarten, whether this be a function of being associated with Yale and contracts and schedules, or means for Goddard School and Montessori's and starting 1st grade. We know that 8 number could be helpful to us. So, sorry, that was long, if you don't mind. So if we apply that to where we're at in terms of the number, we have 89 current kindergarten students. We have 6 sections, so there's the average class size. The average is 3.5. If we gain 4 more, our average would be 15.5 per class, still in the yellow below the number. If we look at 4th grade, if we do it with 1 less section, so we're below the number, we can collapse the kindergarten class. If we do that and we still get 4 more, we would be at 18.6. So now you would be 4/10 away from, the higher ceiling at 19. If you collapse the class and we didn't get any new, just the 89 status quo, you'd be at 17.8.
You might have half your classes at 18 and half of them at 19.
Correct, yep, or 3 and 2, right, depending, exactly. So if we look at grade 1, and I'm not, grade 1 currently, we are at 18.6. So that's the 93, 91 in the system, 2 in process, 5 sections, for an average class size of 18.6. If we received 4 more, and the average is 4 1/4, mid-August to September, we're going to be at 19.4, which means 2 classes are going to have 20, 3 are going to have 19. If we don't, and if we add a class, and we don't get that 4 more, we'll drop down to 15.5. If we get 4 more and we add a class, we'll be at 16.2. Now this changed today. Marcia and I were all over the enrollment today because, I did this yesterday when there was 3 or 4 less Ks yesterday because some of them were registered but kind of in the cloud. So when I came in today and there were 3 more K, when yesterday it was making sense to me in my head I was a little more prepared, I think, to say maybe we'll change the K to a 1. We will still only be at 17. But that changed today with some updated enrollment. I was dealing with 82 or 83 to 85 yesterday, not 89. And so, the next slide, part of what's difficult in the data, not having been here, and I think we'll get better at forecasting the longer we're here, is I don't know if the +3 or the +4 that I'm sharing with you, in the previous slide, that was on top of the ones that are in process. So it's really +7. So if that's the case, and that's a stretch, this is what the numbers would look like if the students in process are included in the average addition. So if we average +4, since we already have 3, for lack of a better term, in process, this only adds 1 additional to get to that average of 4. Knowing full well that we could, the range, right, could be a data anomaly, or the average is the average. That's just, could be 6, could be 1, could be 8. Although I think we're on top of it enough, or I don't think we're going to have 8 folks, show up. It really would be if they move. So in this scenario, we now have 89 plus status quo for the 14.83, and we only go up to 15 because if we meet the average, we'd only get 1 more. If we decrease a section with the 89, we get to 17.8, and with, that should say 1 more, not 2 more, with 1 more, then that would be 90 divided by the 5 for an average class size of 18. And I repeat the same thing with first grade, only it makes it a little more palatable. We don't go over, and we stay in the green because we're right at 19 if we only get 2 more students, if the 2 that are in process are a part of the 4 that we receive on average from mid-August to September. So, this is where we stand. One of the things that I did on Friday was we posted for an anticipated opening, so that if we were to hire, so one of the things that's important is when you hire and split classes, once school starts, it's very disruptive. It's very disruptive, and what ends up happening is you often will get the folks who they don't want their child moved. And that's understandable. You as parents, you might not want your child to change classes. You'll also get some that are going to volunteer for it. But we have 2 weeks, and so we posted so that we would be ready. The posting would come down by contract 5 days in August. Thursday, I'd be ready to go relatively quickly. And we're going to be monitoring the data every single day, multiple, like all day. So we keep checking in. Anytime there's somebody moves from the portal, we get alerted, we double check, and we're checking on the paperwork and get alerted when anybody registers. So, yeah, please.
How many kids are on the waiting list for grade 1 for MAC?
I don't know that exact number. I'm going to meet first thing tomorrow with Annalisa, but when I asked if there was a waiting list, the answer was always. So, do you happen to know, Cheryl, if the numbers?
I don't know the numbers, but I know that there's a waiting list on every grade level within that.
Yeah.
So.
And for me, and this is something that I'll discuss with Mrs. Sherman tomorrow, it makes sense to have MAG go to the top end every year. 1, because the community covets and wants it. 2, MAG doesn't get the registration when they come in, so you should start them at the top, because the other classroom teachers get kids as kids matriculate in, and it's always changing. So it just makes sense for class size that they should be the 19, or in my opinion, actually, it should be 20 across the board, is that it would make sense to me. I know it's 21 in the upper grades, but for me, continuity of being in the program, for those that want to be in the program for 4 years, it probably makes sense to just go 1 more at 20 in the lower grades and 1 less, and just be 20 for continuity. But that's just sort of a preview of what I want to discuss with Principal Sherman tomorrow. So if we do that, then the class sizes are just slightly better, by 1 or 2. So as much as I want to be able to have a crystal ball and forecast, I want to, and it does say, to start the school year, and there's an exception. I bring to you a motion because I don't want to, it's an unbudgeted position. So the board would really, in my opinion, need to authorize me to go beyond what the budget is if we are to hire. So
Well, if I can just say, so
Sure.
2 years ago, you did have this issue in first grade at the same time where the first grade classrooms were at 18, 19 to start the year with the concern of more students moving in. And I sat at that table at the time and petitioned the board to hire another position, which I think did work out for our first grade's favor. There was that disruption, there were kids that were moved, but I think at the end, when you're looking at first grade, you want kids to learn to read, you want them to, keep up with our feature status. Smaller class sizes would benefit the students, it would help the teachers. I know we're still too short of paras in the classrooms too, so you're already starting the year slightly short-staffed. Just bringing on an extra teacher, I know it's an extra FTE, but I don't think it would hurt, given we're on the high end of a lot of our grade levels.
Yeah, and I don't, yes, it never hurts to have small class sizes in K1, right?
Yeah.
So I'd agree. And I want to point something out that I did not say, is that adding a teacher would be adding sort of half of a teacher, since we have an unfilled half teacher pre-K position that we were able to schedule the pre-K within an existing teacher schedule. So they're going to do half pre-K, half resource. So if that is of any, it doesn't mean that I won't come back to you mid-year and say, we can't do it anymore, we have more pre-K, but at least that would still lighten the load if we were to do this. I guess I bring this to you because we all have our opinions on class size as a board. We never really unpacked this. But if we were to add, it could very well be that we have kindergarten and first grade with 15s. And that would be something that would have to, would be okay for sort of going above what we budgeted for. Because there's no real way to know, and there's only 2 weeks. And the best case scenario is I hire beforehand, or we tough it out in terms of hoping we're just at 19, but it could be an anomaly, and we could be at 20 and 21. Yeah. And first grade, in this educator's opinion, in my opinion, is the most important grade in terms of class size. More important than kindergarten too. Because of the academic demands in terms of reading, class size, etc. So.
And if memory serves me, just 2 years ago when we had this issue, part of what also came up was that physically the first grade classrooms are quite small comparatively to some of the other classrooms in the different other grades. And so once you add in the paras and some have one-on-ones, it was actually difficult sometimes for the teachers to navigate and get around physically within the classrooms as well, I think. But I think we might have started slightly higher that year with some 20s and 21s, but it did quickly become untenable for both the teachers as well as the kids and parents. So, I mean, we're talking about, I think, what might sound like, you just add another kid or two, it's fine. But actually, when you're talking about some of the physically smallest classrooms, and then you're also talking about the needs of some of the kids in those classrooms, it quickly became untenable. And we heard a lot of feedback, I think, from everybody about those classrooms, which is what caused us to make the decision once we started the school year.
Yeah. And that deal with the disruption.
And we prioritized it even though it did cause disruption that year.
Yes.
Because that's what we were hearing was needed.
Yeah.
Do we have another classroom?
Well,
we always have another classroom.
We do have another classroom. It is occupied by world language. So what would happen is there would be some moving around and bumping, and then we would have another unified arts or special area class. One of the world language teachers would go on a cart.
Which is what happened last time. I think it was a music teacher that ended up on a cart.
Yes, and then last year the music was back in a room, but we're also adding a pre-K section in a smaller room since it's only a half day. So yes, that would be the case. What the reason this is so tricky and this is such a long sort of conversation is that the data just is favorable in terms of first grade growing much more than the other grades. So when you look at, I didn't share this with you, but second grade, you're like, well, second grade's at 19, but second grade, the history of second grade from mid-September the average is only 0.5, and the rest of the year is, the range is -1 to 2. So it just drops off after K and 1. It's like folks who come to Woodbridge are doing it when the kids are in K and 1, and then they're staying. And then the numbers are really small in the upper grades because they're either staying or that's your special circumstances around, jobs or something. Yeah.
So if you were to add, you wouldn't move anyone off the MAG waiting list, right? Because then MAG would be so heavy and everyone else would be so low.
You would move.
I would still have that conversation and take a look at that. Because even though they would be low, we still could be getting more. I wouldn't want to overload them. They wouldn't go above the limits, but if we have 17 and we know that our limits are 19, then really we could be giving the community, 2 more kids could sort of get what families are requesting, potentially. But I, to be fair,
And they're kind of a cohort where they
they
stay
are-
together all 4 years.
that's what I'm thinking too, yeah. But that's a conversation, in all fairness, that I need to have with Annalisa, Principal Sherman. Yeah. But yes, to your point, we could end up with 15s, and then let's say they have 18 or 19.
One additional question, like if the guideline is say 19 to 21, do we strictly try to keep all grades below 21, or we're looking at an average value?
So, it's a really good question, like guidelines sort of versus policy. I think we had, but you also can't control sometimes where people move out of. We can control when they register. I believe we had 1 or 2 classes last year with 22 in 5th or 6th or both. So the average was above 21, but even the board's guidelines from 2018 say that, or actually,
Yeah, it's the last page.
yeah, I know, and Marcia also printed out for me in minutes from 2017 where they were contemplating, the board was contemplating moving to 19 to 23, but they didn't, because the upper grades often go above the 21 as sort of an accepted practice, and they were worried if they went to 19 to 23 that it would become 24 and 25. So it's sort of like, I've not sort of lived here in this space with you long enough to know what folks' appetites are and how strict we are with sort of guidelines. In anything other than K and 2, you have a little more, in my mind, you have a little more flexibility in terms of numbers, right? But class size as a strategy works greatest when you are learning to read, not reading to learn. So after 2nd grade, the data on class size as a, now I'm not saying that it doesn't have an impact on climate, teacher morale and retention, those things, but just as a strategy, it's most important in the lower grades, And then again, having worked in an urban setting, it's pretty important in middle school, in places where, in urban settings. So I would bring it right back into middle school and urban settings as well.
The reason I ask is it appears that 1 in grade 5 and 2 in grade 6 are still over that 21. They could be distributed to be about 2021. I'm sure there is a reason.
From this sheet,
Yeah, from this sheet.
the colored one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because 1 in grade 5
Yes.
is more than 21.
Yeah, and
2
I'm
in
not sure
grade
why,
6.
I'm not sure what the case was there. Yep.
And there is obviously a opportunity to keep that 21 threshold.
Yes.
If you choose to. I'm sure there is a reason, but just wanted to see what that was.
But typically, that would be, the reason would take place after, right? We can balance it before the letters. The letters were to go out today, they didn't go out today, because
I was going to ask that question.
they did not. And we're holding them until,
Tomorrow.
well, at least until this likely, like to tomorrow, yes,
Right.
essentially.
I mean, you're gonna, if the choice is to add another teacher, you're gonna have to hold for, can't send kids to a room and then switch them for grade 1.
No, we would have to, yeah, right. No, we would
Right.
switch them with a TBD in advance so that we weren't switching them twice, yes. Yes, yes,
Right.
yes.
you will be in a class with an unnamed teacher.
Right.
Teacher TBD.
Will be
You're
amazing.
gonna love.
Yeah,
Right.
it will be.
So these are our district guidelines, just to educate myself, where do they
Yes.
fall with either state or national guidelines, or what's the climate around these?
So I haven't revisited that in a while, but the committee in 2018, which included board members, teachers, the superintendent, looked at.
Teacher assistant.
Teacher assistants, yeah. They looked at comps. So they looked at DERG, Connecticut, how we compared,
BOA.
BOA, and then they established those guidelines. So I think that those are good guidelines. Those are good. I happened to be with DERG B superintendents the other day, and I was asking, Fairfields are a little higher, but Fairfields are contractual. So Fairfield, they add a teacher when they get 2 less than the guideline, but the guideline's higher. So it ends up being somewhat close to us. So in the contract, it'll be 24. But as soon as a class hits 22, they then hire the teacher so that they don't ever get to the 24. But I can't speak to, that committee did, but I don't know all the details. But it could be in the near future that we revisit it at least and reaffirm.
I think Bethany was, when we did it, Jeff was a little lower than we were, but their, total enrollment was lower too. Their kindergarten size was lower.
Yeah.
Just because they had less kids, or was it a guideline?
I think it was their guideline, but they know they have less kids too, Donna, so, yeah.
After October 1, I can easily do a DERG B comparison of what the average class size is, and then I can reach out, the guidelines won't be published, I'll have to reach out to individual superintendents. So I can collect some data, and at least then we can have a conversation around, should we revisit this, should we have a conversation? But in the short term, it's a motion either to authorize me if needed in the next few days, I'm tracking, or it's a motion to just do it if in fact you have strong feelings and you're like, just do it right now.
I think for me, it's the physicality of those
Yeah.
classrooms that I think if we were talking about a different set of classrooms or a different layout within our current building, it would feel different. But those first grade classrooms are quite small, like physically small.
Well, they're
So-
the same size, actually,
The
as
layout.
the second and the third
But
grade.
it's the
Just-
my understanding, and I could be wrong, but my understanding is the layout of some of the first grade classrooms cuts off some of the space.
I know some of them have that, like over maybe where the sink is, right? A weird like rectangular square footage jut out kind of a thing.
Yeah.
The way the closet goes, where they
Yeah.
go in, and then, there.
So for me,
Leo has,
no, go ahead, no, it's okay.
No, this is
Leo
helpful.
has like the numbers of
Yeah.
each of the classrooms. I know that we had that from a couple of years ago.
Right. I think actual square space may be this comparable, but usable square space
Yeah.
in terms
Yeah.
of how you're going to arrange desks is smaller.
For me, it's wanting to avoid doing this
Disruptions.
and disruption and changing, changing students and families once we start. So,
Yeah, and I'll just add, I just think the fact that, from the first spreadsheet you put up, that we're already at 19, not factoring in NAG, and based on what just the past 3-4 years, odds are that number's going up. We're going to end up having to make this change down the road, and so much better to do it before learners are in the building and folks are attached to teachers, and we have parents who are like, why are these class sizes so high? Especially as you said, because first grade is so critical. We add half a teacher, we get another classroom, we're creating that much stronger a learning experience for our kids as they're starting out here. So I will make the motion that, and if I get this wrong, we can wordsmith. Oh, is it there? Oh, thank you. I move that should it become necessary, the superintendent be authorized to add an additional full-time, actually, well, don't we want to tweak this?
take this should have become necessary out.
Yeah. All right.
Based on the
I
feedback.
move,
I'm
yeah. I move that we authorize the superintendent to add an additional full-time elementary teaching position for the 2026-27 school year. Do I have a second? Jackie? Any discussion?
So with this motion, there is no trigger point, we're authorizing now.
We're gonna do it now based on the fact that the first grade's at 19 right now.
Is it
Yeah.
a one-year position just because it says 26, 27?
We did not post it as 1 year.
Okay, no, I just based on the verbiage, just,
Yeah,
I don't want it to be, just.
yeah. I mean, but if it is, then we end up, you know,
I mean, really, they're
Yeah.
all one-year positions.
yeah.
Okay, currently has 6, we could go to 5. But it's just a risk.
Yeah.
Thoughts before we go to vote?
I'd rather just hold off a few more days and see what else comes in, and if you can shift some MAG kids who are already opening up 3 spots.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the overall number. Even if we move 2 to 3 students to MAG, we're just, the fact that we're at that high end already, and it's that year in particular. I just think that's such a critical year. And it's not, with kindergartners, we have paras in the room, full-time paras, but we don't have them in first grade. So, teachers are handling a lot more in that year. I feel like we will save ourselves potential headaches, adding a half position to the budget potential cost.
Right, and we're starting the year off with 2 para vacancies, and we already have half of this person's salary built into the budget. So, financially, we're not incurring an entire salary for an entire year, even though it's a position. It's a lot of the salary is already currently in our budget, and not just in other areas.
But to Sarah Beth's point, we could make a motion that gives them authorization to go over with Principal Sherman, look at the data again, and then pull the trigger.
But then you're waiting until the middle of the year to.
No, we're waiting till like a couple days.
You
Right.
said within the next 3 days.
You have to have the conversation with Principal Sherman. There's more data coming in. You're looking at the people who are in limbo or.
So Jeff, if we move 2 people to MAG, that would
Yeah.
put MAG at 19. And then if we didn't get any more, let's say like no more data comes in, but we know kids will come in trickle in throughout the year, would you want to not add, would your idea be that we're saying if data stays stagnant, we move 2 kids to MAG, we should not hire another classroom teacher? I just want to make sure we're clear in our directive.
I think we should make the motion where we put faith in our superintendent and say, hey, when you feel it's necessary, pull this trigger.
Okay.
I think we already feel it's necessary, but.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
we
but-
pulled 3 from MAG and made that 20, we'd still have 3 spots in those, we'd have 9 spots if we went to 20, and I understand that's not ideal, but,
Yeah.
we live with a lot of luxuries in this town, I think. That's very nice, but if it's only a half of a position, then all the more, I guess it's not as much of a financial implication, but.
We always have a lot of turnover that ends up creeping up little pieces of surplus that, we may end up buying.
Well, I hear what you're saying, and I do have a lot of faith in our superintendent around this. So I will retract my motion. Can I do that? Or do I? Yeah, I'll withdraw my motion, and then we'll return to the original language or amend the motion. Yeah, basically to what you provided for us very helpfully, Marcia. So I move that should it become necessary, the superintendent be authorized to add an additional full-time elementary teaching position for the 2026-2027 school year.
And maybe we should add based on enrollment discussions. Or,
And that we have faith in the superintendent
Yeah.
and our principal in making
Yeah.
this decision.
Yeah.
That we will support you with whatever decision you make.
Okay, I'm going to suggest we stick with the language as I just amended it, as lovely as all of that was. And, may I have a second?
I'm worried we're sending mixed messages.
Yeah.
I just, to be honest, I'm worried we're saying, yes, do it. It's clear he wants to do it. And then we're saying, but maybe don't do it. It's up to you.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I was hearing he needs to look at the data a little bit more, he needs to have a conversation with Principal Sherman, so I was just trying to buy him some time, so he doesn't go home and make the decision now.
Well,
So-
we could ask our superintendent what his,
We could do that.
what his position is.
So,
Okay, wait, let's just get a do we get
Well-
a second on this motion before we continue discussion, or are we still discussing under the original motion?
Can we just still
I need a second on the amended motion. Jeff, thank you. Okay, now let's go.
so I'm not knowing, or what I think this community values. Yesterday, I was prepared to come, and I think I had mentioned this earlier, and say, I think we should take a K teacher and have her teach first grade. It would have put us in 17, 18, or 17 and change, but that wasn't the case today. And if we just take one and put it in the other grade, all we're doing is flip-flopping those numbers. So that doesn't really work, given that we had +3 just right off the bat this morning, and it changed things. What I think of this community is that the community is not going to want 20. And educationally speaking, there might not be a difference between 19 and 20. As you know, working, it could be 14, could be the class that has, the most needs, depending on, who comprises the class. But from all of, even before I applied, it became clear that the value, class size is a value here. But it's a budget move that the board has to stand behind, and you know that the risk is we might have classes of 15. And when you have a class of 15, I'm okay with living with a class of 15 in K and 1. If I have to err on the side of caution and you're telling me I have a class of 15 in K and 1, and then I make the budget correction on the second half of the year, okay. But this has to be more than just me saying that's okay, since we're going beyond the budget that I brought to you. I want to get really better at forecasting grade 1 here, since grade 1 seems to be that grade where now we average 8.25 more for some reason, and we'll factor that in our projections next year. This year we made the correction. Maybe next year we're not. We're projecting 9 kids more based on our history. So, if I were to flat out make a recommendation, that changed today, and given that the worst outcome to me would be adding at the start of the school year, I would likely add by the end of this week, and I can't add until after Thursday anyway, since that's the posting. But I reviewed we had 22 applicants, we posted it Friday. Sunday, I was reviewing 22 folks who've already submitted. So there's some promising people in there. I can bring them in the next couple days, and by the end of the week, we can be ready. So if I were to make a decision right now, yes, I would add, so long as you understood that it could be that we don't meet the average, and we're at 15 and 16 in 2 grade levels.
Yeah, and I mean, the important part too is you have taken the preemptive step, and this was with guidance from Finance Committee.
Sure.
We had a conversation about this, preliminary conversation, to say, yes, from our perspective, certainly go ahead and post whether or not you hire. But at least we're in a position, if we need to add a section before the school year begins, let's do it. I am absolutely in favor of, if it looks at all likely that we're going to be bumping up and continuing to grow, as these data suggest, unless we have several students suddenly drop out in the next week and a half, just disappear, whatever, life happens. Unless we have several students drop out in the next week and a half, my expectation is those numbers are going to go up. And I would much rather that we have the educators in place and the structures in place so that kids aren't being relocated, that we don't have parents here who are very unhappy with why their class sizes are so big in first grade. All those factors, given the value we place on education in our community. I mean, I think every community does, but I also think this is a case where, even from an economic perspective, this is not, this is not as prohibitive as if we didn't have certain factors in place, like we already have a half-time teacher to count toward, we have 2 unfilled pairs at this point. But, mostly it's philosophical. I want us to be ready.
Yeah.
And I think if we're, I think we will be well served by being ready for what is likely to happen, but we can't guarantee it. So if we're comfortable with that motion, which again, we're deferring to our superintendent to ultimately make the final decision, continue looking at the data, and, we'll see where we land, all those in favor? All right, unanimous. Great, and great discussion. All right, with that, public comment, no public, no comment, executive session, no need for executive session this meeting. So is there a motion to adjourn at 9:29 p.m.? Jeff Hughes, is there a second? Jackie Capiello, all those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.